Let us help you reach your peak in retirement. It's time for Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee.
Hey everybody, welcome into another edition of the podcast. Sean Lee hanging out with myself as we're talking investing, finance, and retirement on the podcast. This week, retirement satisfaction. As Mick Jagger and the boys said, we can't get no satisfaction. Hopefully we can in retirement. What's going on, my friend? How you doing?
Hey, man, I'm just looking forward to that baseball satisfaction right now.
How's the boys doing?
Oh man, they're good. Yeah, it's funny. I think you and I were talking about it, and we just took them down to a tournament. It got rained out the second couple of days, but so we played in this tournament last year, and our boys, it was their first experience in player pitch, and you can steal bases and all this stuff. And they were a little bit of deer in headlights last year, and they got beat up pretty good.
Learning situation,
good learning experience. Well, we came back down to this tournament and breakfast the first morning, my son and I were talking, and he's like, Dad, I just hope that we don't get destroyed. And so we have five kids from our team from last year, and they're all thinking the same thing. Oh, we're at this tournament again, saying we're going to lose. Well, they show up, and I don't think the boys realized how much work they'd put in. And this wasn't me and Jeremy, their coach, like doing magic. It was the boys had 30-some practices before we went to this tournament, and they were on the other side of the tournament. So they beat a team 25-1, 17-4. And it finally clicked that they realized, oh, hey, we're a pretty good team. Okay. and the clouds had lifted, and they were excited to play, and they were wanting to get out, and they were super aggressive. And it was really neat to see how that confidence level switched from, I don't know if we're good enough, to, oh yeah, we're good. We're good enough.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, that's good. That way they get kind of, they had that little scared, maybe deer in the headlights moment, but then, saw on the other side, hey, this can be done and we can do it. And that's actually a pretty good, metaphor really for our conversation today about retirement satisfaction, because we found that a lot of people, fit into some different descriptions when it comes to the degree of satisfaction they're looking for. And often people think they can achieve it, Sean, but a lot of times they're just lacking the knowledge, or just sitting down and getting a plan put together to find out that it's there. Often people say, well, there's no way I can retire. Then they come in and they do an evaluation and they go through a review. And more times than not, people are pleasantly surprised to find that they're in good shape or better shape than they thought. So let's do a little retirement satisfaction, a couple things that pop up from people on the regular. Peace of mind, regardless of what's happening in the stock market, is important to just about everybody because, as we just had a conversation on the last show, rules are changing all the time. The market continues to be really good, but, this can't continue forever. Many are saying it's popped up on some toothpicks, basically. And at what point is it going to go tumbling down? So peace of mind, a big piece.
Huge. And you look at how the most successful people in retirement have positioned themselves. They've done a number of things. They work with an advisor who's built a clearly defined plan that they know specifically where incomes are going to come from, how they're going to come, how Social Security fits into the picture. They've got a clearly defined strategy to create their most important asset, which is income, right? And they've taken some time to determine who they are as investors. And what I mean by that is that if I need $80,000 a year of income in retirement and only $40,000 of that's coming from Social Securities and pensions, well, I've got a math problem of $40,000 that I need to come up with for my investments.
Right.
Well, once you know who you are as a retiree, of how you want to generate that income, whether you want that money protected income, that's one way that you can create it, where it's safe, it's secure, it's mailbox money, or you want your income created from the markets or dividends, things like that, or you want a combination of the two. Once you know who you are, then an advisor should just be there to guide you into, okay, how you want to draw income, how much you need. Let's create a strategy based on who you are as an investor and as a person, and let's create that income strategy. And so the most successful people have that clearly defined plan. They have an advisor who's taken the steps to really create the incomes that are comfortable for that family unit. And then they work with a CPA, and then they work with an estate planning attorney. Having a roadmap and having clarity on where all those things are going to come from and how they're going to work together in your plan alleviates a lot of the unknown and a lot of the pressures. Coming back to our baseball tournament, kids didn't know what to expect.
Right.
It was unknown to them. Things change when your leadoff hitter hits a home run and you've got some clarity on, okay, we can do this. And so then, by having clarity and coming back to the plan and taking the time and the energy and the effort initially to build a plan, you get a lot of peace of mind when the markets collapse a little bit or they correct and things like that.
Yeah, and that's a good way of looking at it too, because if you know you got a math problem and that means you're going to have to take a little bit more risk, then you can prepare yourself for that. It's like waiting to find out if you are diagnosed with some sort of an illness or something, right? Sometimes you got something going on, you're not sure what it is, and sometimes the not knowing is way more frustrating. At least you can build a plan once you know. So if you know you're behind a little bit, yeah, there's still some stress that's going to come with that, but you're not going to be freaking out every time the market makes a move because you realize you have to be a little more aggressive maybe because you're behind, or maybe a little less aggressive because you've saved well, did a good job. So peace of mind can go a long way when dealing with the stock market when a good plan's in place. Sean, how do you help people when it comes to, you were talking about the income stream, so really the diversity of it, because many people just don't get it and they think, well, I've got a 401k and I've got Social Security, so there's my two income streams, but how do I use them?
Yeah, I mean, and that comes back to who are you as a retiree, and how do you want to create your income? How do you want to create your cash flow? And like I said earlier, there's only three types of people in the world. There's the protected person who wants all their income protected. Well, the vehicles that you have to use are different than if you're the market person, right? So if I'm the protected person, I've got choices of investments that I can use. If I'm the market person, I've got choices of investments that I can use. If I'm a combo person where I want a little bit protected and a little bit from the market, well, I've got all of the choices available. And so once you know who you are, then the construction of the income streams really becomes pretty simple because it narrows the choices that you can use down pretty dramatically.
Okay. All right. And of course, diversity always being important in those income streams. So you're not overly reliant on any one thing. I mean, if you just sit there and think, hey, I'm going to have to be completely reliant on Social Security, you may, see that you have to change your lifestyle a bit if that was the case. Confidence. So we're talking retirement satisfaction. I think a lot of times, Sean, confidence really is the component that most people are looking for. They want the confidence to know they're going to be okay. And I imagine you also struggle sometimes with people who've done a really good job saving to say, hey, it's okay to go ahead and spend it now, right? You got to give them that confidence to understand I can party. I can have a good time with this if I want to.
I have this conversation constantly. Spend a little bit of your money. You're going to have a big tax bill down the road if you don't. Once you have clarity in your plan,
right.
And it all comes back to having a plan. But I have conversations pretty consistently with, okay, I need you to start to spend some of this money now so it doesn't blow you up from a tax perspective down the road.
Yeah.
Or, live your life and do the things that you want to do. I read this book called Die with Zero. I don't remember the author, but it's a great book. And the whole concept is the value of your asset in your period of life, basically. Mm-hmm. So I look at my kids right now. They're almost 9 and 12. They're 8 and 11, but they'll transition this summer to birthdays. And I look at their life and I look at my life when I was in college. And when I was in college, every dime mattered. Every dollar that I could get from working, or if my mom had some extra money,
right.
That money mattered a whole lot. And so I'm looking at that for my kids. Okay, if I can make an impact and give them some money while they're in college, right after college, when they're in their 20s, that's going to have a much larger impact than waiting until I die and they're in their 40s or 50s or 60s, hopefully.
Right. Now, that's a great point. Die with Zero, getting all you can from your money and your life. That was the book. Bill Perkins looks like that's the author. And yeah, it basically says a common sense guide to living rich versus dying rich, right? So having that confidence to be able to go and spend and use what you've built up. Now, again, the nervous part of this for most people is to that point of the conversation about having a plan. If you don't know that you can spend confidently, well, then you're going to be nervous and you're going to sit there and hold on to it, and you're going to maybe not enjoy the golden years the way that you want to. And so really all of this comes back to having a good plan that works for you and working with an advisor who gets that, because everybody's going to be different. What you want and what I want and what Sean wants and so on and so forth is going to be completely different. So all of that kind of factors in there. We'll do one more here, Sean, and that's just security. around some of the different portions that become quite important when you're building that plan. And one of those is healthcare. We don't know what in the world's going to happen with the healthcare situation in this country. So you had better start having these conversations for yourself and factor into that into your planning process.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're going to need long-term care. I think
there's a pretty good bet at this point.
Yeah, and that's all over the board. I look at the 8 grandparents between my wife and I, and 6 of them have been in long-term care facilities in some form or another. And what that means, and that's all over the board. So it could mean that my grandfather had a stroke. He went into a rehab facility,
right?
For
Like
a
short
weeks.
term versus a long term. Yeah,
that counts. My wife's grandfather had late stage Parkinson's before he passed, so he was in a facility for like 4 years.
Right.
And then her other grandparents chose to go into a nursing home, just because they didn't want to live on their own anymore. And so you've got that all over the board, whether it's 3-week stints at rehab facilities all the way up to memory care units. And that's the one thing that we really can't control is kind of the longevity of our life or how the quality deteriorates down the road. And when we look at long-term care, once again, that's just a math problem. It's not, I don't want to scare you by saying everybody's going to have it, but let's look at the facts behind what it costs, and then look at the facts behind, can your plan handle it if one spouse needs care, and can your plan handle it if that spouse passes away and the other spouse is still alive? Because that's where the stress is going to come if there's a surviving spouse after a long-term care spend down.
Yeah, I mean, again, this all comes back into that same simple conversation of what do you want your retirement to look like and what kind of satisfaction are you hoping to get from it? And having a good plan in place is going to help you find that satisfaction. They're going to get you to that place where you're feeling good. You're not stressing over the market up and downs. You're not stressing over if a long-term care event happens to one of you or your spouse. Those types of situations, what to do from a tax situation if they get kicked up. To some of the crazy numbers that we're hearing out there right now. So a lot of different things that go into getting some retirement satisfaction. And at the end of the day, Sean, it's really just about sitting down and having a conversation with somebody. Talk to a couple somebodies. Find that right fit for you, that person that can help you really kind of achieve the goals that you're after and that you feel good about working with. And the same thing goes from you as an advisor. You're looking to work with people who understand and kind of get what you're saying. Because you can build the greatest plan in the world, but if they don't put it into action, they don't take time to work on it, it's been all for naught. Right.
Blueprint doesn't matter if the house is built crappy.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, you can coach the boys, right? But at the end of the day, they've got to execute.
That's exactly it.
I
just want to sit on my bucket. Just want to sit on a bucket.
All right, folks. I think that's going to work. So if you want to sit on your bucket, reach out to Sean, have a conversation, get started. No cost or obligation for a review of your financial situation, retirement situation. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Find it all at retirementelevatedpodcast.com, whether you're an Apple user or Google or Spotify or whatever. Most of the apps are pretty much already installed on your phone. You can just type in Retirement Elevated in the search box. Or, again, you can find it all at the website, retirementelevatedpodcast.com. You can reach out to Sean that way or call him at 855-50-RETIRE. All right, my friend, have yourself a great week. Good luck at the next event with the boys, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Talk to you soon. Thanks.
We'll catch you next time here on the show. This has been Retirement Elevated with Sean Lee, managing partner at Elevated Retirement Group.
Investment advisory services offered through Elevated Capital Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor.